That afternoon, the sun's rays gently penetrated the large glass of the hall where the promotional event for the drama Fated Hearts was held. Warm air mixed with the scent of fresh flowers placed in every corner of the room, making the atmosphere feel comfortable and elegant. Reporters, fans, and invited guests have filled the front area of the stage. I myself stood on the right side of the stage, holding a small note and a camera, ready to capture every important moment between two hotly discussed stars, Li Qin and Chen Zhe Yuan. I've covered events like this many times, but that day felt a little different. For some reason, there is a kind of gentle vibe in the air, a mixture of professionalism and sweet feeling, which slowly grows between two people who seem to get closer every time they are seen together. The show began with a cheerful host introducing the main cast. Light music flowed from the loudspeakers, and applause echoed when Li Qin was first called. She looked charming in a simple-cut pastel dress. Her hair was neatly gathered in a bun, leaving a few strands that fell sweetly on the sides of her face. The sunlight coming in from the large window made her skin look soft, sparkling. He smiled, walking slowly toward the stage. However, on the right side, I saw Chen Zhe Yuan standing first, waiting in his signature style, casual but polite, wearing a white shirt rolled up at the wrist, giving the impression of being clean and calm. He looked at Li Qin with a look that was hard to explain. Calm, yet attentive. And just as Li Qin was about to reach the small staircase leading to the stage, the moment happened. The ladder wasn't very high, but because of the length of the dress she was wearing, her steps became a little difficult. He paused for a moment, lowered his eyes, then raised his gaze as if to make sure no one noticed his difficulty. However, someone had already noticed it earlier. Chen Zhe Yuan moved without hesitation. He stepped closer, lowered his body slightly, then gently extended his right hand towards Li Qin. "Let me help you," he said quietly, quite softly but clearly heard by me who was not far from them. Li Qin looked at him briefly. There was a hint of shock on his face, followed by a smile that appeared so natural, he couldn't help it. He had lowered his head, as if embarrassed to receive such attention in front of so many people, but finally his hand slowly reached out. His slender fingers touched Chen Zhe Yuan's fingers, then grasped them carefully. That moment felt so slow. The sunlight falling from the large glass behind them framed the scene as in a painting. A soft light shone on the two hands clasping each other, reflecting a warmth that was difficult to ignore. From where I was standing, I could clearly see how Chen Zhe Yuan was looking at her, not with a formal glare like a co-worker, but with a warm and respectful look. He did not pull Li Qin's hand hastily, but rather guided his steps up onto the stage slowly, making sure each step was safe. When they finally stood side by side on the stage, small cheers rang out from the audience below. Some fans even held their breath, while others immediately cheered quietly. "Look. He's holding Li Qin's hand. Oh my God, this is like their drama scene." Li Qin lowered his head slightly, his face looking red. But even so, he did not immediately release his grip. A few seconds passed, and only after he felt completely stable did their hands slowly separate. But their gazes still meet each other, and that's where the beauty lies. There were no words spoken, but the communication between them felt so clear. I saw the host smile a little, as if realizing how sweet the scene had just been. "Wow, this is a new compact cooperation," he said with a laugh. "It looks like your relationship is getting closer after filming Fated Hearts, huh?" Chen Zhe Yuan only laughed softly as he lowered his head, while Li Qin raised his hand covering his face briefly, shyly but happily. "No, it's just a reflex," he said, in a soft tone that made everyone in the room laugh together. "But I know, and probably everyone who pays attention knows too, that such reflexes are not born by chance. It arises from habit, from a sense of care that grows naturally when a person really cares about others." The rest of the event took place in a light and pleasant atmosphere. Whenever the camera panned the two of them, Chen Zhe Yuan always seemed to notice Li Qin first. Whether she was comfortable, whether her dress was fine, whether her chair was just right. Little things like that, but that's exactly where the real warmth lies. Li Qin, on the other hand, always responded with a gentle smile that was never excessive. Sometimes, when Chen Zhe Yuan was speaking, he looked at her with a calm but proud expression, as if proud to see his co-star speak confidently in front of the public. From my point of view, the view was so relaxing. It's like seeing two energies complement each other without the need for many words. After the interview, they walked off the stage together. I was still standing on the same side, watching Li Qin carefully step down from the stairs. This time, Chen Zhe Yuan again offered his hand, and without hesitation, Li Qin welcomed him again. Nothing superfluous. No drama. But oddly enough, it is precisely in simplicity that lies its charm. The rays of the evening sun that began to decline highlighted their faces from the side. The two smiled, their eyes briefly meeting. There was a kind of calm there, something that even the camera could not fully capture. After the session was over, I followed them to the backstage rest area. There, the atmosphere is much more relaxed. Several staff were having a conversation, and Li Qin was sitting on a chair holding a bottle of mineral water. Chen Zhe Yuan sat down next to him, leaned forward slightly, looked at his phone screen, then showed him something. Li Qin chuckled a light, honest, infectious laugh. I saw the moment pass between the crowd, and for a moment I forgot I was working. They look good together. Not in the romantic sense of exaggeration, but harmonious in comfort. It was as if they knew each other's rhythm. When the group photo session began, I returned to the front area. And again, sweet moments come naturally. As the photographer asked them to stand close together, Chen Zhe Yuan politely tilted his body slightly towards Li Qin, making room for her dress not to be stepped on. He even patted the side of the stage to make sure the position is safe. Li Qin looked at him for a moment, then said quietly, "You really pay attention to details, huh?" Chen Zhe Yuan laughed lightly. "You've been quite busy keeping your beautiful expression. Let me watch the rest." Everyone around them laughed along with them, but I knew there was sincerity behind the joke. Late afternoon, the show was finally over. The guests began to leave the room, but the sun still penetrated through the windows, giving the last golden light before dusk. Amidst that crowd, I saw Li Qin and Chen Zhe Yuan walking side by side towards the exit. There was no grasp of the hand this time, but their steps were rhythmic, like two notes in a melody. Every now and then they talked quietly, interspersed with small laughs. Li Qin held a small goblet in his hand, and Chen Zhe Yuan reflexively helped carry his small bag. He did it naturally, without needing to be asked, and Li Qin accepted it with a smile that could only be given to someone who made him feel safe. I stood for a long time in my place, watching them walk until they disappeared behind the glass door. The warm afternoon air now turned soft towards evening, but the warmth of their interaction was still felt in the heart. I wrote a little note in my book. Sometimes, intimacy doesn't need to be announced. Just the way someone holds your hand so you don't fall. And that day, I witnessed for myself the simplest form of intimacy, when Li Qin took Chen Zhe Yuan's hand and stepped onto the stage, not just out of favor, but out of trust. A moment that may only last a few seconds, but leaves a warm impression much longer.